Hey guys, I am here today to review Amy Reed's The Nowhere Girls. I want to say straight up ahead of time that this book discusses the aftermath of a sexual assault. So if that is not something that you want to hear a video talking about, it's not a book, that you'd want to read, I will say that this is a very good feminist book. So it's not awful, and it's not graphic in any way, but just putting it out there that this does deal with the topic of sexual assault. So that is your, sign to turn the video off or continue as you feel comfortable. Nowhere Girls tells the story of, ostensibly it's told in 4 rotating narratives. There's 3 female main protagonists and a section called Us, which I'll talk about a little bit in this review. But these 3 main protagonists, their name are Grace, who has just moved to this small town. She is the daughter of a female preacher, and her mother, they had to leave their hometown because her mother started preaching more liberal religion, Christian religion, than her town was comfortable with, so she had to leave. And so she's struggling to fit in. Her mom's, writing a book and trying to make it like in the big time. So she's got a lot of stuff going on there. There's also Rosina. She is a Latina girl, and she's also queer and struggling with a family dynamic that doesn't necessarily support her being queer, and just trying to, survive high school. And then there is Erin. She also goes to the same high school. She's Rosina's best friend, and she is on the spectrum for Asperger's. And so she also has some things hidden deep back in her history that are severely affecting her throughout the whole book. The main plot of the book is that right before Grace has moved into town, a girl named Lucy had been driven out because she accused some of the most popular boys in the town of sexually assaulting her, and everybody didn't believe her. They thought that she was crying wolf. There was no evidence, and everybody kind of turned their backs on her, and she and her family left. They couldn't stay. And Grace has moved into Lucy's house, and she finds these like clawed into the wall, marks on the walls from Lucy being like, kill me, I'm already dead, those kinds of things. And Grace really takes it upon herself to just be like, why did no one stand up for her? How do women allow themselves to be treated in this way by men? And so she becomes friends with Rosina and Erin, and together they begin a group called the Nowhere Girls. And the Nowhere Girls are supposed to be a stand of all of the women in this town, particularly the teen women in this high school, saying we will not let the boys treat us this way, treat us like sex objects, and we won't allow these 3 boys to get away with what they come to find out through, girls that knew Lucy was actually true. They were just too afraid to speak out. They have a lot of really powerful discussions about feminism and what it means, to be like a teen girl trying to interact in a realm of men. And then there's this really fascinating section that alternates with the other 3 rotating protagonists, which is called Us. And these are snippets from other girls who are unidentified, members of the Nowhere Girls who are part of this group but aren't main characters. Like there is a trans woman who is struggling with their ability to be a part of the Nowhere Girls movement, despite the fact that everyone from the outside sees their body as male, but that's not how they see themselves. So then there's also like the African American student who comments on the Nowhere Girls movement and says, well, of course, these white girls can do this because, African American women have to walk a different path when they protest. And so all while dealing with a very sensitive topic, it's also very, very interested in the idea of intersectionality and how, there's only 3 girls that are the main protagonists, but there are so many other sides to this very, very dense topic, which yes, affects all women, but affects all women differently based on your sexual orientation, based on your race, based on, disability, as Erin is forced to, confront that with. And so it tries to tackle a lot, and some of it tackles better than others. There's obviously, like, everything is intersectional and everything is a deep hole that could be its own book and is a dearth of something that deeply needs to be explored in our culture. But I think what I love about this is that it explores the topic very well while understanding that there are other voices that aren't as strong but are just as important in this particular dilemma. And each character, like, sometimes when you have rotating protagonists, one comes across more strongly than the other. And I think in this book what I also really loved was that no one of the girls came off as more the main character. Grace is the person that drives the eventual Nowhere Girls movement initially, and she's a very strong character because she's shown to be really wrestling with her faith, but in a way that is constructive to the argument. She relies very deeply on her faith, and I feel like a lot of times, particularly in books that involve some kind of sex quotient, if you're religious, you're on the opposite side of the debate, and Grace is not that. She's very just a strong, inwardly religious, outwardly social justice, and really portraying a really fantastic character in that way. Rosina is struggling with her family, struggling with herself. She really, really just wants this one girl to be her girlfriend. But, you know, she's also struggling with the effects of men talking to her, knowing that she's a lesbian, and how, you know, the wording of the, you know, the barbs changes towards her and that kind of a thing. And just her relationship with her mother is a very strong relationship that continues throughout the book. Erin is again on the spectrum, and she has a lot of ways that she feels, you know, it makes her feel less of a real teen than her classmates, and to a certain extent she doesn't want to be seen among these crazy hormonal people, and she's just like, oh my god, what is wrong with all of you? But she again also has some baggage in her past, directly discussing how, you know, disability impacts the topic of, you know, sexual advances, sexual assault, that kind of a thing, and how men have treated her in the past. And again, it's just like every single chapter, I wasn't like, oh, well, this person's here, can't I just skip this and go on back to, you know, one of the other girls? I wanted to read every single one of their stories. The girls get into a lot of really, really good micro discussions throughout the book, just like, well, this person and this person have as much sex as each one of them, but only one of them is called a slut, and for the other one it's just fine, and it has to do with, like, class and their place in the social hierarchy. And, like, even this is just like a very small discussion, but a lot of things are brought up, and it's fabulous. And that's what I appreciate the most about this book, is that it was so committed to telling every angle of the intersectionality surrounding this issue as far as it could. Obviously, you know, it's only this big, it can't cover the wealth of problems in our society, but it was definitely aware of the larger conversation, that just talking about sexual assault and, you know, protesting sexual assault and like conservative values, I guess, has to come from different places and means different things to different people. So I didn't give this a full-on 5 stars. I gave it like a 4, 4.5, just for some of those places where the attempt to do too much fell down a little bit. But in terms of an attempt at a project that didn't feel preachy, that just felt real and now, I really, really, really loved this book. And if that is something that interests you, I would definitely recommend that you read it. So that is The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. And that is all I have for today. So if you want to talk a little bit more about this book, if you've read it, if you want to know if it has a happy ending, which can be important in stories like this for people's, you know, comfortability level, just like leave me a message down in the comments. I can like respond to you, and we'll let people know that there are spoilers or whatever, because I did want to make this a spoiler-free review. But I know that was really waiting on my mind when I read it. It was like, oh my god, am I going through all of this? And what is the ending? So, again, not spoiling, but this this for the Me Too movement is a very important book for right now, I think. So, not perfect, but listening. So that's the most important thing. But yeah, I'm done. I'm done babbling. All right, bye.